So here we go with the real definition of personality. It'd be great if you guys can underline this in your textbook as we go. So personality, guys, it is the characteristic way of responding to a particular circumstance, specific situation, or a event. Okay, so you know how when you think of your best friends, you must notice that there is a specific way in which they deal with their situation. Okay, some of them might come across as violent, usually, some of them being extremely calm and composed no matter what happens to them, others being very dramatic as they experience their world. Okay, so their characteristic way is their specific kind of way in which they respond to things that are happening and occurring around them. That, my friends, is understood as your personality. Okay, so the literal meaning of the word personality, it essentially means a mask. It comes from the Latin word known as persona, and persona is the mask which these actors in the Roman theaters used for changing their facial makeup. So, you know, all of those various roles that we play, we also wear masks, guys, in the true sense. Sometimes I'm a daughter, and other times I'm a girlfriend, and other times I'm somebody's best friend, another time I'm a sister, another time I am a teacher. So those are the various masks that I play in my everyday. Okay, so here are a couple of features which we'll check out for personality. These features will be very helpful for you to understand the concept of personality. So personality, guys, has both a very physical and a psychological component. The physical aspect is what gets visible to you in the real world. The psychological aspect is just the way of this individual to respond to things. You know how individuals trend? That trending kind of shows you how they be in the real world. Its expression, personality's expression, in terms of behavior is very unique. You'll rarely find any two people behaving in the same way. Okay, so individuals are very unique with their expression of their personality. The main aspects of your personality, they rarely change. Okay, yes, some things do change easily with time, but that's over a period of time, and it could be due to certain internal or external situational demands, right? So, for example, an individual who's very outgoing, chirpy, and charismatic and lovely in their interactions, if they go through some bitter times in their life, they may come across as being more withdrawn and a little unconfident, which kind of shapes their personality and makes them less of who they were before, essentially. Okay, so with that, I sum up saying that personality is adaptive to situations. It is something that you can, shape and mold, but the true essence of personality rarely ever changes with time. So, did you guys know that there are actually some approaches to study personality? There are absolute two approaches to look at the concept of personality. These are the trait and the type approach. What these approaches entail is what we'll explore together now. So, just like a lot of theories came together for intelligence to understand what is it that makes people truly intelligent, the same way there was so much discussion in the world about personality, and people came to argue about what truly personality was all about. What is it that shapes people? Really. So, to understand this, there were some type theorists and trait theorists. We're going to now start with type theories of personalities. So when personality came about, these type theorists, they were very curious about the various types of people that existed in that time and space. And they happened to categorize these people into these following types. But to understand the types, we must understand the definition of the type approach. It's time to pull out your pencil and mark those keywords. Type approach, it attempts to comprehend human personality by examining certain broad patterns, like I just said earlier, which is then observed as behavioral characteristics in these individuals. So these individuals were markedly observed for their certain behavioral characteristics which were specific and were categorized as those certain broad patterns for the personality type. What these types are is what we will explore together now. We're going to explore 5 types of personality type approaches. We're going to start with the Hippocrates. The Hippocrates had essentially given a typology which was based on fluid. Okay, so they classified people based on the kind of fluids which were flowing in their bodies, and they were considered to be either sanguine, phlegmatic, melancholic, or caloric. So here we identify individuals who are sanguine as individuals who are very confident and usually happy. Phlegmatic are those individuals who are calm, they're introverted and quite emotional and energetic, excited. Melancholic are those individuals who, display a tendency of sadness and they seem a little depressed, withdrawn, and kept to self. Choleric, on the contrary, are those individuals who display being temperamental. They're easily irritable. So the Hippocrates, they kind of, identified individuals based on these fluids that existed within the individual, and that's how they identified their personality. The next type approach that we'll look at together is Charak Samhita. This is something that comes from our very own Ayurveda, and it classifies people into Vat, Pitta, and Kapha. So on the basis of these, humors, these 3 Vat, Pitta, and Kapha, these are called as Tridoshas. Okay, and each of the Tridoshas varying depending on the kind of the how they vary within our own bodies. They're referred to as the temperament of the individual, which is called the prakriti of the individual. Okay, so your prakriti, which means your nature, is defined by the amount of what pith or kapha you own within your vessel. The next, which is the third type approach, which we'll look at together, guys, is called as 3 gunas. So 3 gunas comprise of 3 gunas or guns, and these were known as Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. The Sattva guna, it includes attributes like cleanliness, truthfulness, dutifulness, detachment, and discipline. Rajas guna, it also includes certain aspects such as the desire for a sense of gratification, dissatisfaction, envy, and a materialistic mentality. That is the Rajas guna. Tamas guna, on the contrary, it comprises of the characteristics of anger, arrogance, depression, laziness, and feelings of helplessness. Okay, so guys, what you need to know about the 3 gunas is that these are how they are identified, and these are the characteristics. It will be great if you can learn any 3 characteristics for each for your exams. What's very important to know about these 3 gunas is that all of them are present in a particular individual, but there is always a dominance of one guna over the other gunas depending on the kind of people you're interacting with, the content that you see in your everyday life, the thoughts that you're thinking, the food that you're eating. All of that contributes to the dominance of one of these gunas over the other 2. Okay? Okay, let's move on. Okay, so the fourth interesting type theory that we're going to do together is my personal favorite. It's something that was my favorite in my grade 12 when I was studying at Springdale School, Dhalakua, which is Sheldon's body build and temperament type theory. So Sheldon was another interesting theorist who was, curious about comprehending personalities. And what Sheldon found out was that there were these 3 types of personalities. The first one, he called them as endomorphic. Endomorphic individuals are usually fat, soft, and round. So if you can think of a friend who is fat, soft, and round, you can, identify them as an endomorph. And note that these individuals temperamentally are quite relaxed and sociable. So these are endomorphs. Up next, we got the mesomorphs. Mesomorphs are those individuals who are strong. They have this muscular body and they're rectangle in shape with a very strong body build. So these individuals are usually identified as very energetic and courageous. So most of these individuals, guys, are most of sporty, they're born with a great physique and they seem quite muscular for some reason, especially being energetic and quite courageous. So those are the mesomorphs. Last off, we've got the ectomorphs. Ectomorphs, according to Sheldon's body build theory, says that these individuals are thin, they're quite long, I guess he meant tall, and very fragile in the body build. Okay, these individuals are dominantly brainy, artistic, and introverted. So that's what Sheldon identified them as, and these individuals are ectomorphic in their nature. So if you guys can pin a friend who kind of shows these traits, will be great, because that's how you can identify them and even learn the theory easily. The fifth theory of the type approach is given by this guy called Carl Jung. Carl Jung again was a student of Freud, and he of the father of psychology and the father of psychoanalysis. And Carl Jung interestingly pulled out a theory of personality, which identified people as either introverted or extroverted. So introverts are those individuals who love to be by themselves. They stay a little withdrawn, and even in the face of emotional conflicts, they deal with their issues themselves, as they're a little bit shy and timid. So they keep to themselves. They really avoid people in general, and unless they feel very comfortable to interact with others. On the contrary, extroverts are those individuals who are very sociable. They're outgoing, they're drawn to occupations that allow dealing directly with people. So, as an extrovert, they love to thrive when they have the attention of a lot of others. These individuals, for relaxation, they love to go out socially, and they kind of energize themselves, they recharge themselves in the presence of others. So going out for those parties with a lot of people, or being on the stage where they have a lot of attention to themselves, kind of is stress busting for them, and they love getting all that attention too. So they try lose themselves among people and in social activities, which gives them a sense of relaxation and dealing with their stressors. So that's extroverts for you. Again, if you can identify individuals who are introverts or extroverts, will help you to kind of, learn the characteristics really well. Okay, so let's look at the last type approach. This was given by Friedman and Rosenman. So these two people were very interested in the type of personalities that people had, and they categorized people into largely two types. And they came up with the third and the fourth type, known as type C and D eventually. So what is the type A personality? Individuals who possess very high motivation. They lack patience, feel short of time, they're in a great hurry all the time, and they like always being burdened with work. These individuals are understood as type A personality. Can you guys identify a friend who, kind of exhibits such traits? If you do, it'll be easier for you to kind of learn these features for type A. These individuals, unfortunately, can get identified with coronary heart disease because of their lack of, patience, and their incessant need to finish a task as soon as they get it. Okay, so these individuals, they have a very hard time just slowing down, taking the time to relax, really think through what they're doing and then do it. They always seem to be pressed for time, and thus attract things like hypertension, diabetes, and coronary heart disease. Type B, on the contrary, they also experience the same kind of task which type A would probably, but they deal with it in a much better manner. So they're quite opposite to type A. Despite the same amount of work to be done, they do the same amount of work with the absence of those type A traits. Okay, we also have something known as a type C personality. This is explained, type C was given by Morris, who suggested that type C personality is something that is prone to cancer. These individuals are characterized as those individuals who lack assertiveness. Okay, so they find it very hard to say no, and they do not have the patience. Cut. I'm going to add this. Okay. Type C individuals, on the contrary, are those which are said to have lack of assertiveness and they're prone to cancer. Okay. This was suggested by Morris, wherein he said that these individuals find it very difficult to walk away from situations and they're usually like a yes man personality who are extremely cooperative, very unassertive, and extremely patient. So they suppress their negative feelings and emotions, they don't quite deal with them, and that suppression is what kind of takes them down and changes to a cancer. We're going to move to the last type, guys, and this type is known as the type D personality. This type D approach to personality, it basically says that such individuals are prone to depression. Okay, their proneness to depression is kind of high. It is characterized by just this D, and this also was suggested by Morris. Okay, so that's a wrap to the type approaches to personality. Up next, we'll move on to the trait approach to personality. But okay, so that, my friends, was a little bit about the trait which we're going to dive into in our next session. However, I hope that the little clip helped you to revise a tad bit about the type theories that we just did together today in today's session. So if there are any further questions for type theories, please feel free to pin them in the comments below and I'll get back to you. Meanwhile, do revise this part well, and it'll be great if you can sit with your NCERT textbook as we study together. See you around, and I hope this was easier to understand. Bye.